My life completely changed when I learned that there's actually a super simple equation for financial freedom. And over the past 5 years, I've been applying those principles toward my own financial life to work toward becoming financially free. And I have made a lot of progress by the age of 25. So in this video, I'm sharing some of the steps and strategies that you can use to achieve financial freedom for yourself. This concept is super broad and overwhelming for someone just getting started, but I'm going to be sharing 3 of the wealth building strategies that I use and that you can use, and how I'm using a combination of all 3 of them in my personal financial plan. Hopefully by the end of this video, you can use my journey and how I'm applying this to my own financial life to inspire you to take steps toward financial freedom. After being on this journey for over 5 years now and taking my net worth from the negatives to multi-6 figures, I have learned a lot of lessons, but probably the biggest lesson is that one person's strategy is not going to look like another person's strategy, and achieving financial freedom is probably going to include a mix of different wealth building strategies. So that is what I'm going to be sharing in today's video. Let's start by defining what it even means to become financially free. At its core, financial freedom just means that you no longer have to actively work for money. Whenever your passive income covers your expenses, you are free. Your investments and your systems at that point are working for you, so you're no longer showing up every single day, but you're still making money to support your lifestyle. When I personally got introduced to the concept of financial freedom, it was back in college, and it was generally in the real estate investing space. I was listening to a ton of money podcasts back in college, and everyone was talking about how real estate investing helped them get to a point where they had enough passive income coming in every single month through their rental properties, covered their lifestyle, and all of a sudden they no longer have to work a corporate job. I also during that time started to learn about the stock market and how if you have a large enough investment portfolio, you can withdraw roughly 4% of that portfolio every single year to cover your expenses. And if that covers all of your expenses, you no longer have to work a traditional job and you are free. Then a little bit later on, I started to learn about how people were starting businesses and getting their business to a point where they had people and systems running their day-to-day business. So they were still making money from their business and generating profit, but they were getting to a point where they no longer had to show up every day and actively work for money. Very early on in life, I learned about 3 different wealth building strategies that people were using to become financially free. Fast forward 5 years later, and I'm actually applying all 3 strategies into my personal financial plan to achieve financial freedom in my adult life. What I'm coming to realize as I'm on this journey is that these strategies don't typically work in silos. Almost every single person that I know uses a combination of 2 or even all 3 of these strategies in order to build wealth for themselves. The people who are investing in real estate, they also have money in the stock market. The people who are building businesses, they also have money in the stock market. Maybe they also have a rental property. This video would have been so valuable to me when I was just getting started, because I'm not there yet. I don't have millions of dollars. I'm not totally financially free, but I've made substantial progress and I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together. So I hope this video inspires you to see how you could apply this to your life as well. The stock market is the very first thing that I got started with in order to help me build wealth. I have an entire video on my YouTube channel all about my stock market portfolio, how much I made in it, what I invest in, all of that. So definitely go check that out if you're interested. But in a nutshell, I've been investing for 5 or 6 years now, and my investment portfolio is sitting right around $200,000. When we're looking at all of the different accounts that I'm invested into, around $140,000 of that is in retirement accounts, and around $50,000 of that is in regular investing accounts, so non-retirement accounts. The very first thing that I did, step number 1, was I started investing for retirement. In college, I opened a Roth IRA, and then when I graduated from college, I got access to a 401k through my first employer, and I basically just started dumping as much money as I could into those accounts. Those accounts, generally speaking, are for you to use during traditional retirement age because there's rules around when you can pull the money out. So for the most part, I was investing into those accounts with the intent of using that money during traditional retirement age, so over the age of, let's say, 60. The biggest benefit in me starting with investing for retirement is there's such a big gap between when I'm investing and when I need to actually use the money. So that money that I'm investing when I'm 19 all the way to the age of 25, that money has decades to sit there and compound, so that by the time I need to use it, that money has grown so much without me physically having to invest more money into it. There's another rule called the rule of 72, which you can look up the actual formula and the actual numbers. It lets me assume that my money that's invested into the stock market will double around every 9 years. That means that if I never invested even $1 more for retirement, the $140,000 that I have sitting in there in my retirement accounts would grow to around $2.2 million by the age of 61, again, without me investing even another dollar throughout my adult life. So that's the first pillar of my financial plan and achieving financial freedom, is to make sure that I'm covered for actual retirement age. We'll come back to the stock market when I start talking about when I started investing outside of my retirement accounts as well. I realized very quickly after graduating from college that if I wanted to hit my financial goals in the amount of time that I wanted to hit them, I was going to need to increase my income. 6 months out of college, I was already saving and investing. I had a decent amount of money saved, but I was looking at my corporate salary and I realized that if I never increased my income, my financial goals were going to take me a very long time. Even just something like my student loan debt was going to take me at minimum 6 or 7 years to pay off before I could really ramp up investing or saving for a home down payment or any of my other big financial goals. Pretty quickly after college, I started trying a bunch of different things in order to increase my income. Some were very straightforward. Like for a while, I was doing Instacart on the weekends. I was also trying to get into some online side hustles. I tried starting a blog twice. There were a ton of different things that I was starting to pour myself into in the online side hustle space. After 2 failed attempts at starting a blog, that's when I turned to social media, and instead of writing blog posts, I started posting TikToks instead. It only took me roughly 6 months of posting on social media before multiple streams of income from that started to transform. Since I was developing some content creation skills, I started to pick up some freelance gigs in the user-generated content and social media management space. I started selling a $5 digital product. I started promoting a few affiliates. Then my channels grew even further, and I was able to start plugging in some brand sponsorships here and there as well. That was roughly 3 years ago, and over the past 3 years, I've used that money that I made through increasing my income to really build a strong financial foundation, as in I've saved a lot of money, I've invested a lot of money, but I haven't really built a business in the sense that I make money when I show up to work. I'm still the sole person running the day-to-day. If I stopped posting content tomorrow, I would stop making money tomorrow. My streams of income are still very, very active. Obviously, freelancing is just another version of a full-time job, just on a part-time basis. So I'm building the foundations for things to be passive in the future, but things are very much so active right now. And over the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to be my primary goal. How can I build a business that I can eventually not be so hands-on with? I also love this pillar of my financial plan because this kind of goes back to doing work that's meaningful and fulfilling to you. Yes, I have something that I have to actively work on every single day in order to make the money, but it's work that's meaningful and fulfilling, and I'm so passionate about it and I love it every single day. I am so excited to wake up and work and sit at my computer. So I thoroughly enjoy it, and generally speaking, I do also have the freedom to pivot if something's not suiting me anymore. So that is pillar 2 of my financial plan, which is to build a business that I can eventually slowly walk away from, as in delegate parts of, set up systems that are working behind the scenes to eventually not have to show up and run the day-to-day every single day. Okay, so we talked about how my retirement investments are a part of my financial plan, but I said I would come back to that $50,000 that was in the stock market, but not inside of my retirement account. Once I started increasing my income and started to increase the amount of money that was inside of my retirement account, I got to a point where I realized that I don't want all of my money locked up to traditional retirement age. Even though I don't see myself walking away from working completely, I want to do work that's meaningful and exciting to me. Financial freedom is all about flexibility, and I do want to have flexibility in my adult life. If I want to take some time off when I have kids, or just have money there when my family wants to buy our family home, or I don't 100% know what the money is there for, but I do know that having money in the stock market that I can use in my adult life before retirement age will give us some freedom and flexibility, which is what financial freedom is all about. So roughly 3 years ago, I started investing inside of a traditional brokerage account, which is just a fancy term for a regular investment account. Unlike the retirement accounts, there's not really rules and stipulations around when you can pull the money out and use it. So like I said, I have roughly $50,000 in there right now, and I'll continue to invest inside of that account throughout my 20s and 30s or until we need to use it. And then real estate is the last one. And honestly, I never really saw myself getting into real estate. Like I said, it was kind of the first intro into the concept of financial freedom. But the more that I listened and just thinking about the logistics of it, it honestly didn't sound that appealing to me to own a ton of rental properties. And yes, you can have a property manager, but you're still giving yourself a job. You still have to manage the units. They're not 100% passive. It sounds like a big headache to be updating a bunch of houses and dealing with maintenance and all of the things. It doesn't really sound like something that I'm super interested in getting into at scale. And maybe down the line, having 1 or 2 rental properties every single month, generating you a little bit of cash flow. At the very least, you have an appreciating asset outside of the stock market. So for the last 3 years since increasing my income, I have been saving for a home down payment, and now I'm prepping to become a first-time home buyer this summer. I'll be buying a townhome in Pittsburgh, and basically how this fits into my financial plan, I do see myself living in the property for the next 5 or 6 years. Honestly, I see this being the place that I'm living until I live in my forever family home. But eventually, when my future family does outgrow a townhome and we move into our family home, ideally I would be keeping this place as a rental property, and we would have that asset in our name. Owning property, especially if you have a lot of equity in the property, I think it just gives you you a lot of flexibility. And again, the diversity away from just your stock market investments is what interests me in buying my first house this summer. So to sum it all up, when people say that they're going after financial freedom, they're not necessarily saying that they're going after having millions of dollars sitting inside of an account that they can use for the rest of their life and they'll lay on a beach every single day for the rest of their life. For me, it's just giving myself options over my life and gaining more time flexibility as my life goes on. So learning these lessons at such a young age and discovering the concept of financial freedom when I was 19, it made me super motivated to be really good with my finances in my 20s, because that's what's going to give me the freedom and flexibility in my 30s and 40s to maybe work part-time for a little while, start a business that won't be profitable for a few years. So I hope this video gave you some inspiration for how you can use these 3 pillars of wealth building strategies to help you achieve financial freedom.